Everyone please rise for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we will call the meeting to order. We have the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections?
Mr. Chair, there was the item added, I think on Friday, and Denise sent out a copy to you about the Tyler Payments contract.
Okay. I see that's on the current agenda. Okay, is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve.
Char moves. Is there a second?
This Ted, I'll second.
Ted seconds. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, motion carried. Public input. Is there anybody here who wishes to address the board? Okay, okay, did you, and you signed in, correct? Okay, all right, have a seat. You have approximately 3 minutes to state, your information to the board, and then we'll probably have a little discussion.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I've been practicing on time.
Just say your name to the microphone so we have it on record, please.
My name is Rick Lovitz. I live in Lake George. My name is Rick Lovitz, a 17-year resident of Lake George, Minnesota in Hubbard County. Since 2019, I've been requesting to get 374th Street in Lake George repaired. What began as large mud puddles has become fully flooded each spring, lasting longer than 2 months each time. Yet my township board members adamantly refuse to address this concern. These repairs have become more urgent because of the need for school bus transportation twice daily, which was denied to a different family in 2014 because the road was determined unsafe to drive on. Also, the accessibility for all emergency vehicles and the recent need for personal care assistance. I have researched and presented possible solutions and requirements as instructed by state foresters and the Minnesota DNR, and have received estimates from local reputable businesses. All solutions are reasonable in their legality, cost, and time frame, yet it continues to be denied by our board. According to Minnesota statute 163.16 on impassable roads, when a written complaint signed by 5 or more landowners of any town is presented to the county board stating that a described town road in or on the line of the town has not been opened or constructed or is not properly maintained, and because of such neglect is not reasonably passable. The county board by resolution shall fix a time and a place for hearing the complaint. The county auditor shall mail a copy of the complaint together with notice of the time and place of hearing on the complaint to the town clerk. All person signing the complaint shall also be notified of the time and place of the hearing by the county auditor. I am prepared to file a formal complaint with Hubbard County and have the 5 signatures required. Myself, my neighbors, our families, friends, and business associates, thank you for listening to our concerns and appreciate any advice on how to move forward to solve this problem peacefully and quickly as possible. I am available to answer any questions you may have. Respectfully submitted, Rick Lovitz.
Okay. That was the first time I had heard reference to that statute. I haven't been privy to that prior to this.
Okay.
So that's interesting. That's something that we did. I don't think any of us knew that or were aware of it. And you've had discussions with the township, obviously, and we did get some photos and
You
diagrams.
have
and
had a
whatnot.
chance to see some of this?
Yep,
Okay.
yep. Yep, looks like it is quite waterlogged in the spring of the year.
Yes, that's
The,
the understatement.
Has the school been insisting to the township that they do something?
Well,
Or are they just leaving it up to the property owner to take their children out to the main road?
what happened was, back in 14, there was different people lived there, and they had kids. And the school bus was coming in and picking them up from September until in the spring. And then when the road got bad, then the bus said, we're not coming in there with the bus no more. Well, he was a construction worker, he had his own business, so he altered his schedule to take the kids out and leave them off at the Woodland store. Well, he could do that, and then he could be there to pick them up. But the guy that lives there now, he has to leave at 5:30 in the morning, and his 12-year-old daughter needs bus service. So we put in a request, or told them that this was gonna happen this fall. And until now, their older daughter was taking her to school. But she graduated this spring, and she's gone to college now. And her mother recently had a stroke, and so she can't drive. So they have no way to get her to school. Right now, I believe the bus will come in there no problem. But then all of a sudden, it's gonna be March, the snow's gonna start to melt. As you saw in the pictures, the road is actually from 6 inches to a foot below the whole forest floor. So in March, as soon as the snow starts to melt, all the water runs into the road, which makes it flooded. And if I'd have known I was gonna come to this, that it wouldn't be resolved by now, I would have taken many more pictures. But there's 4 areas in 0.55 of a mile that's underwater. I have a map here, I brought today another map that I marked on there. 4 of them I measured last spring, they were between 40 and 50 feet in the narrowest point that's completely flooded across, or covered in water, if you don't. And the worst spot is 70 feet. So the school bus, when it was muddy back in 14, wouldn't drive through that water. I'm gonna go find the superintendent today when I leave here and ask them what the school bus will go through. Because I don't have that in my book here yet, but the book is getting thicker the more I investigate this. But what about an emergency? I've asked the town board, does the ambulance drive through when they come to a road? When I took my driver's license, it said never drive through a road that's flooded with water, that's covered. So now all of a sudden it's okay that, I don't know if a fire truck will go through that. I don't know if an ambulance will go through that. If they stop, get out with a stick and see how deep it is, that's 5 minutes lost. This is, I don't know.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Chair, I have a couple
Comments?
questions.
Yes.
So in the photo, there's a group of mailboxes.
Yeah,
So does the road you're talking about start right after the mailboxes?
yes, at the mailboxes, it starts, it comes off of County Road 4 there, and then it winds through state property. That's where the whole problem is.
Yeah, I read about the easement and all that.
Yes.
So the people that are living there now, are they using four-wheel drive to get in and out, or do they park their vehicle, and how are they,
We all have 4-wheel drive vehicles,
okay,
and we've been going that way. Last spring, for 2 weeks, we drove up onto the forest floor around the worst part for 2 weeks in the spring, and then when the frost goes out, then the water finally go back down, and then we went back onto the road again when the water went down.
and then what is the reason the township officers are giving you for not repairing the road?
The reason they gave me is that they don't have any money. The reason that they gave me is that they didn't have an easement. In my looking at that, that tells me that them are 2 excuses that they're not budgeting or planning to be able to do this. The whole project, the easement, the buy the land, the application, the easement, and the timber rights is under $15,000. And it would be about $15,000 to put gravel on there. They've spent $85,000 in the last 3 years re-graveling other roads. I drove through water, our road was covered, like I just explained, in 4 places. And I drove every township road that same day. And I found one mud puddle that was 6 feet long and 2 feet wide on one road. And they can't spend $15,000 for the easement. This is a problem that was created, I don't know, 40, 50 years ago. In 1988 is when the Lake George Township recorded
Yep.
all these, you
Yeah,
saw that in
we
there too?
saw that in there, uh-huh.
So they did that then. Now, I don't know if the members of the board at that time didn't know that they had to purchase the land from the state, or if, I don't know what the reason is, that they didn't, but now it's a problem.
It was not recorded at that time as a minimum maintenance road.
No, it's never been recorded as a minimum maintenance road. The forester that I was working with, Matt, he told me that he saw where in 1959, he saw that it was a road. And when we purchased this place, a couple years later, I was talking to one of the older neighbors in town, and he told me that the road used to go to the north, but it had to go through a swamp. And instead of going through a swamp, it went right next to the neighbor's house. And they said not to go there no more. Well, the way all this stuff happens back in the day, his name was Buzzy Dudley, was on the board, and he was the mailman back then. And he lived at the place that we bought. Well, he started going through the state forest instead of through that other guy's yard. And the alternative, or the option at that time, was to make a road through the swamp. But my wife and I have done some research on this, and there's some act passed, I can't remember, Donna, you know?
1991 water.
A water act that wouldn't allow you to go through a swamp if there was an alternative route. Well, he had already started going this way, so they didn't build the road through the swamp. And that's where this easement never got bought or purchased at that time. This is all, you know, hearsay stories that you heard, but it was created many years ago, and I don't see where $15,000 to make a guarantee for safety for the fire, ambulance, emergency, and that a school bus would be able guaranteed to get in there is asking that much of a township like this.
So,
They never really gave me a reason, back to your original question, why they won't do it.
so Rick, have you talked to some other township residents, and how do they feel about it?
I've talked to 6 different people that were on boards that are retired or are on boards at this time now, and they've all told me the same thing, that this is a no-brainer, that you would budget the money to purchase the easement and budget the money. But when I asked our township if I could see the budget for the rest of 2025, they looked at each other and they kind of snickered and said, "We don't have a budget." I said, "How can you not have a budget?" They said, "We make it up as we go."
So the reason I ask is there's more than one way to take care of this issue. Have you been to the annual meeting?
Yes.
Okay, 'cause-
That's another issue I'd like to talk about, but I don't know how much time we have.
well, the thing is, township government is the most grassroots government of all, and at the annual township meeting, the constituents are in charge. You run the meeting, not the township board. And so if you come with a motion and it gets seconded by the other commissioners that the road and bridge levy will be raised to address this problem, statutorily, they have no choice if it passes. They have to do it. If they don't, they're derelict in their duty. Because if the township supports it at the annual meeting, they must do it.
Okay, so I learned that just the other day talking to another member of a different township. Because at our annual meeting, I was told, I've been going to every town board meeting for the last year and a half trying to figure out why we don't have money, why. when I asked for the finance report, they told me that they didn't have to give it to me. I said, it's public information. They said, you have to pay for it. I said, okay, get it ready. 6 weeks later, I took 5 more people to our township meeting, and they printed it out in 5 minutes, and I didn't have to pay for it. But that's one issue. But at the annual meeting, we went to the annual meeting, and they told me at these meetings, I can't make no motions. I can have a little input if I want on every meeting. But at the annual meeting,
Who's running the meeting?
huh?
Who was running the meeting?
Bert Mans is the A chair, I believe. Cal Johansson is the B chair, and Henry Kalsdorf is the C chair.
Because it's not supposed to be run by current supervisors.
Well, that's who's doing our meetings. And then at the annual meeting, they said that you can get you can't make a motion except at an annual meeting. So I went to the annual meeting, and before I went, I talked to Cumbers, and I asked them how much 10 loads of fill would cost. And how much would it cost to run your blade for a day on the road? And they told me, I said, so that comes to like $3,500. So when I went to the annual meeting, I made a motion that the township spends $3,500 putting fill in these holes and blading the road to try to get a little bit of drainage. I made the motion, we had like a 10-minute discussion about it, we voted on it, it was passed, we seconded it, and the second it was second, Cal got out of his chair up in arms and said, you people gotta remember that this is just a recommendation to the board that we do not have to do this. And that's where it ended. So then I asked at the next meeting, I said, you told me for 9 months that I can't make a motion or do anything except at the annual meeting, and at the annual meeting, we did everything that I thought was what we were supposed to do in order, and then he says we don't have to do it anyway, it's just a recommendation.
So I have a question. Jeff, I agree with Steve. None of us knew about this resolution.
Statute.
Or a statute,
Statute.
rather. So what does that require? It requires us to hold a hearing, but after the hearing, then what does it require?
I'll be honest, I never told him, it's not in my first booklet that I gave you. I just learned about that since I gave that to him.
Can you hold that thought a second? So if there was actually a motion and a second and it was voted on and approved, do you have minutes to verify that?
That's another thing I'll tell you about. They only write down about half of the minutes at the meeting, kind of what they want to. At one meeting, they got so mad at us because I would come there with a list of questions that I would ask, trying to learn how this process is supposed to work. I've never dealt with none of this.
It's not very good.
I hate to tell you this, but I'd just hire an attorney for the next annual meeting and take care of it. That's probably your best way to do it, because then you know things are gonna be done in a proper manner. You're gonna have
Should a
statutory
person-
authority, and they'll just take care of it. It won't be that expensive, really.
A person shouldn't have to hire an
You
attorney
shouldn't, no.
to get things.
But when you're in this kind of limbo land where nobody seems to know what the statutes are, you don't have much choice. We could go down this other road, but I don't know where it ends once you have a public hearing or
Yeah,
what.
I'm not sure
It's
we have any
probably- I
authority
don't know
after
that
we have the
authority
hearing.
to force it, but you do, your constituents do at the annual meeting, and if they're not following through, then you're at a point where you have to hire an attorney and say, you're going to address this because it was approved. And if they don't, they're in big trouble. That's the only way, that's the way I would address it, but.
If you read the statute, and I wasn't aware of it till today, the board can notice a public hearing, hold the public hearing, pass a resolution. The township would have 30 days to respond. If they don't respond, then the county can use funds to fix the road and send the bill to the township.
It says that, I only had 3 minutes, I couldn't read it all.
So I have a question then, because Andrea sent us this nice little table. the township refuses to pay, can the county take the money out of what we would normally then give to?
That's the way I understand.
The
When I
township
read
is
it,
part of their,
that the auditor keeps money that's supposed to go to him. I found out yesterday,
Just create another problem though,
oh, it will.
because then they'll be short funds somewhere else.
This can of worms is, once it opens, they're gonna just keep crawling out. And the thing that I don't understand is, it's a $15,000 fix. When you start, even for me to file this complaint, it's gonna be a hearing, it's gonna be, look at the millions of dollars that gets spent for $15,000 fix.
That's why, to me, the best solution is it's cheaper to hire a local attorney to make sure they're following the statutory guidelines that they're obligated to follow at your annual meeting, and they need to plan for it. They need to budget accordingly for it. They get to set their levy at the annual meeting. You guys get to set, the township residents set the levy,
Right.
not the town board.
Yep.
So you can set the levy at a higher amount and force the issue. And if they're not doing and they're not following through with what you're asking, it's either a communication problem or them not understanding what their obligation statutorily is. Having an attorney present will clearly define that and force the issue and get it addressed in the proper manner without us having to all of a sudden force their hand to spend money that they didn't plan for. It's easier to plan for it in the budget for the next year and get it addressed.
and they have to have a road and bridge fund.
They do.
Statutorily, they do. So, and you have access to the balance of that fund?
The way their annual report came out, when I went to it, I had never been there, so I had no idea. I talked to other people and they say that their annual reports come out and it says X amount of dollars for labor, X amount for plowing snow, X amount for grading roads, X amount for improvements, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Ours comes out $30,000 to the fire department, $40,000 to general fund, $40,000 to road and bridge. And then the misinformation that I got for the last 5.5 years I've been playing with this is unbelievable. We only have $100,000. When I asked for the financial report 3 years ago, they wouldn't give it to me. It doesn't matter. So then I asked for it a year later, oh, it isn't gonna make any difference. So then when I took some people to the meeting with me, then they printed it off to me. They got $163,000 and some change that they spend annually. I understand that some of that money goes directly to the fire department. Some of it has to go in road and bridge. Yesterday I found out that, well, they've been telling us that this isn't a township road, that it's just a driveway. Well, I found out yesterday, I called the highway department. I'm gonna go there when I leave here and find out how many years they've been collecting money for it. They've been collecting money for this road, telling me that it's my driveway. Nobody uses that road except me, they tell me. But they've been collecting gas tax refund money for that road I'm gonna find out how many years. I'm gonna go down there and find out today. Because all this stuff is public information and it's all recorded. So whenever I don't know, like you said, how big a can of worms are we gonna open here? So if they've been collecting money for it because it's a gravel road and it's sand road and they won't improve it,
They don't have a choice, or I could tell you, they don't have a choice if the constituents tell them that this will happen.
They don't have a choice, but they won't do it.
Then their only option is to raise the road and bridge levy so that they do it. They don't do it, you're at a legal confrontation then.
so somebody told me that they can do a levy thing. I don't understand all this. Like a levy for like a 3-year levy, bump it for 3 years and then put it back down to take care of this, but this is $15,000.
You could do it all in 1 year if you wanted to. I don't know how many residents there are
All
and what
this
the
come-
impact would be, but
Excuse me for interrupting.
you could do it all in one year's levy if that made sense. I don't know if it does for that
The
township.
problem we got here is the repair becomes more urgent. School bus comes, how do you get all this See, they threatened to abandon the road 2 months ago, so then I started digging into this. And I can't believe all the stuff that I'm finding, and I tried making lists of where we were misinformed and where we were told the right thing, and there ain't much on the one that we were told right, and it's like they're using 40 years of experience to not fix our road. For what reason, nobody knows.
It sounds to me that you need to hire an attorney long before the annual meeting. As a county commissioner, I used to be a township supervisor and I used to be a township clerk. I highly value the grassroots level at a township level. And so I hesitate to get involved and go in and tell a township, you will have to do this. Because to me, it sounds like there's a bigger issue involved in your township board. And so I agree with Dave that an attorney can come in and say, you know what, this is what has to be done legally. Versus us coming in and ending up possibly fixing the road and billing the township, you still haven't solved the root issue, and that is communication and trying to get something done at the township level.
The first thing, if I was the attorney, I would ask is, was there a motion and a second at the annual meeting to do this? And if they admit there was, boom, done.
Brenda's ready.
I mean, it's pretty much done. Then if they haven't levied for it or planned for it, they need to, then as the attorney, you could just tell them, well, I suggest you do it.
But they should also have enough money in the reserve that they could actually do the work.
Float it for a year, yeah.
And then over the course of 1 or 3 years, pay the money back. If you have zero in your road and bridge, you have more problems than this road.
They have 50, 60,000 in it. I think that at the last meeting, it was $100,000 in there, but they re-gravelled 2.5 miles of road this summer. So
Okay.
they're gonna have that bill coming yet this fall.
Mr. Chair, I met Mr. Levitt last year after a Lake George Township meeting. We spoke in great length after the meeting outside. I've had several phone conversations with Mr. Levitt. I've talked with the township board and Cal Johannesson a few times. I've driven the road. It's a very nice road. In the springtime, there is some standing water. It's my understanding nobody has ever been stuck on that road. I think there's a lot more issues here as far as costs. I know that if the survey, or if an easement through the state is gonna cost dollars, there has to be a survey done. That's gonna cost dollars. If they were to widen, the road, as Mr. Levitt says, the road level itself is below the ground level around it. But around it also is a lot of 100-year-old Norway pines. So I know that there would have to be a lot of stumpage, and a lot of trees would have to come down. I know that the township has said that they have done some work on it, that they've tried to address the issue. One grader driver does it right, and then the next one doesn't. I believe this is a township issue that, as Mr. Levitt himself said, that he's been at their last 18 township meetings. I don't want to set a precedence here where we all of a sudden start telling townships what roads they have to fix and where they have to spend their dollars. I believe that I've given a lot of the advice that you folks have given Mr. Levitt today, and here we are. We're almost a half hour into the meeting, and I think that what advice we have given Mr. Levitt is sound advice.
Okay, thank you.
And one last thing, I do support the township and their decision.
Okay, thank you.
And I would just add, my preferred route is that you will do it through the township, as I mentioned, rather than come to the county board and use the heavy hand of government to try and push something. It's much better taken care of locally. And you have the tools to be able to do it.
I would add also one more thing, that it is the township residents that elect their township officials. And so even if it's a slow process, somebody can run against a supervisor that you do not wish to hold the office. I mean, I know this sounds trite, but this is the mechanisms we have for local government.
And it does work. I mean, I was township official for over 10 years. And prior to that, I did exactly what you need to do with annexation in Henrietta Township and was able to roll back. But you have to dot the i's and cross the t's and follow the process. It's not just gonna happen just because you show up one day and go make it. You gotta follow the proper procedures and force the hand if you want it done. But you have to have township support. The residents have to support what you're asking for.
Okay, is there anything else? All right, so I guess the decision is kind of up to you, how you want to pursue everything then.
Have to get an attorney.
Yes, that's kind of what we're advising, that's the best first step. And then, I don't think it's gonna be a long drawn-out process by any means. Because from what I'm hearing, it's fairly straightforward as to perhaps the incorrect steps that have been followed,
I guess
so.
I'm here kind of on behalf of Dustin, my neighbor with the daughter. I guess we just won't be able to really have this problem until next spring. Being his name's been mentioned already, Cal told us his solution to this was that in the spring, if the bus won't drive through the water, he'll drive in and get her. I don't know how many of yous have.
Cal did say that, excuse me.
That we got him to write in the minutes, and he told her, he told Karen, they can't tell you what to write in the minutes. Well, I thought everything that was said at a meeting is supposed to be in the minutes. But when he said that, I got to thinking, I have a daughter, she's 40 now, but when she was 12 years old, I don't think I would want her getting in a car with a stranger to go to school every day.
Yeah.
And the ride back home, just because the road is flooded.
Yeah.
There's so much of this that doesn't make any sense to me with no reason. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you.
One thing, I just want to add on your comment about Cal Johansson saying that nobody's ever gotten stranded. I did get stuck on that road. And let me tell you, the first person I called was not a township board member. So how does Cal think he knows whether people have gotten stranded or not? Because he's not the person we call. I called my husband to come help me and pull my vehicle out of the hole, not the township board. I just wanted to clarify that what you were told is not necessarily factual. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone else here to address the board? All right, seeing nothing, we will move on. The consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve.
Char moves to approve, Dave seconds. Any more discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. County employee recognition.
Good morning, Board. For County Employee Recognition today in the Auditor Treasurer's Department, Bobby Pretzer, Deputy Auditor Treasurer, began the full-time position on August 18th. In the County Attorney, Jack Philbin, Assistant County Attorney 1, began the full-time position on August 19th. In the Sheriff's Department, Gene Trepar, Administrative Assistant, is recognized for service from May 19th, 2008 to August 29th, 2025. Stephen Brockman, Security Recreational Officer, began the part-time position on August 12th. And in Solid Waste, Andrew Grundhofer, Solid Waste Operator, began the part-time position on August 18th.
All right, thank you. Highway survey.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, a few items, and then I do have some updates on our projects quickly. Make sure I'm in the same order. Yeah, okay. The first one is, we received a couple quotes for, what I would consider an emergency maintenance repair on County Road 84. We currently have a metal pipe in the road. It's being crushed, by a few factors leading, weight, minimum coverage on the pipe. So we asked for quotes to replace that pipe. Received two, and Gladen Construction was the low quote for $10,940. So I would like to approve that and get that pipe replaced on 84.
I'll make a motion to accept the low quote.
Ted moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Dave seconds. Just a brief question is, on concrete or even culverts like this, any culverts, why aren't we doing them ourselves?
This one, we could, but it's in a location between two swamps, and it's muck-X, where we don't have the material to block the water that's going into these contractors can put sheet piling down to stop the flow of water. They can dig down into a drier base, and then they'll refill the base with fabric and material. We'd have to rent a packer, like a jumping jack packer or a glide packer for it. So we just don't have the equipment necessarily to do this scale of a project. We are supplying the pipe. We did have a concrete pipe that we are supplying to the contractor. We probably would on other jobs too. We'd buy the pipe directly through the highway department.
Is there something that's gonna be done to, abate, beaver problems there?
You know, there's not been, from my understanding, a lot at that pipe location. It's further, it's on a different crossing
township
up on,
road?
I think it's 14 that crosses north of there, that if that backs up, then it causes water issues. But at that location, there's not been, my understanding.
I know
either.
the location fairly
Yeah,
well, so.
yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty
So I
swampy.
was kinda
but-
curious, yeah, okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried.
Okay, the second item I have is another maintenance repair on our CSAH 2 north of Nevis. We have some, I call them ditch rodents, but beavers or muskrats or whatever. They're burrowing into the shoulder underneath the road, creating voids in the road. And we've had some settlement issues, potholing and whatnot in the road. So we asked the contractor to peel the bituminous off, repack the road, and then they'll come in and pave a patch over it. We're also putting chain link fence on the ditch to hopefully potentially stop them from burrowing into the road. We're gonna try that as a fix. We heard from Beltrami County that they've done that a couple times and it's worked.
It's gonna be my question as to how do you stop them?
Yeah, between trapping and we're gonna try this chain link and see if that kind of deters them from it. They're just a nuisance.
It must be a really small chain link
Yeah,
fence for them not to fit into.
Yeah, they're probably 2.5 inches circular, just a standard that you see around a yard with what we use, roll it down and then we'll anchor it kind of in there. And the grass will grow up to really anchor it down to the slope too.
Enough to annoy them to go somewhere.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, hopefully not just further down,
Well, I
but
was
yeah,
gonna
we'll
say,
hopefully.
there's water on both sides of them there, they
Yeah.
can go either direction,
Yep, it's
so
kind of a
we can
goofy
leapfrog to
location.
another area, you know,
Yeah,
so.
but we've tracked pretty consistently there in the last few years, so hopefully it kind of deters them and keeps them out of there.
Okay,
Yeah, so there was 2 quotes on this one as well, and this one, Racer Construction, for $10,066 was the low quote.
I'll move to approve the low quote.
Dave moves, is there a second?
I'll second.
Ted seconds, any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right,
All right, and the next item I have is updating and establishing 2 new policies for the highway department. One is an update to the snow and ice control policy. It was last updated in 1994. So just changes in how we operate and a little more information in this policy of our operations, I think was needed just by the questions that we get from the public. I've given it to the Road and Safety Committee to review prior to this, we've discussed. So I'd like to have that approved and ready to go for this winter season. The other one is establishing an aggregate stabilization policy. We don't have one currently for what we put down for calcium chloride. I've talked to pretty much every county around us who uses the product, and they do have policies in place in terms of what roads they would consider qualify for the product. Kind of gives them a little backbone in terms of what their operations of when they're using the material and where they place it. Also explains a little bit of the material and how it works. And again, I think it's good just for the public to have that information, and also townships who piggyback off of our contract and use it for their own townships if they need something that they can use to justify why they're doing it or what they're using it for in the townships.
That wouldn't preclude, like if a township didn't meet the requirements here, they could still.
They essentially tell us what roads they want, but this is more just for the county level. But if a township chooses to follow our policy, they could if they wanted to.
So all the roads that we currently apply this to, do they currently meet all of this?
There's a few miles that we did create a new map for next year with this policy enacted, and there is a few miles that would eliminate off. There's some miles, and we have it written in here, under the engineer's discretion. Some where, like, say a gravel pit has been established and they're hauling a lot out of that gravel pit. Well, that would be a good instance where we'd want to make sure that road is protected or that we're putting it down for that reason for the overweight hauling. So there's still that discretion in the policy that, we can put roads in there if we need to. But yeah, I think there's like 4 or 5 miles that would be taken off without the policy.
Do you perceive constituents being concerned about that?
The locations that we had there's no very minimal population on them. I think a lot was on 44 continuing up in that corridor. We do the whole length of that road, and there's maybe 2 people that live on that entire stretch of road, and their houses are set far back from the road. So I don't foresee any negative impact from it. Also with our plan, or 5-year plan in the next few years, we're paving a couple stretches of road that currently get the product. So there's elimination in that aspect too, that we're taking away from where we're paving those miles too.
Yeah, I know 44 is in the plans to do the first 2 miles from the east to the west.
Yep, to pave that 2 miles, 23 is in the plan right now over by Akeley. So there's a few roads that would be covered in bituminous.
A couple there and a couple there.
30, the finishing 30 up north.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I just have a comment, and that is, for dispatching snowplows and the start time to provide service for more significant travel times, I just encourage you, start early, because the roads need to be in very good shape.
Yep.
By 7 o'clock for people to drive safely to work.
And last year was kind of, I think it was like 4:35 was kind of the starting, and we got some feedback that they weren't quite ready or done, and
Yeah, because personal experience, I found that also.
yeah. So I think this year we're gonna change it up a little bit, kind of start a little earlier. I think too, I talked to Eric about test piloting 4 if we can to try pre-treating 4 and see if that kind of helps in our operations when we get these more common ice storms that seem to be happening the last 5 years. Some different operations that we're kind of looking at to see, but that is one of them, yeah.
Have you taken the time to analyze your snowplow routes and your operators, how long it takes them to do them? If
We
they
have, and
extra time
actually-
At the end of the day to,
Yeah, in this county, actually, we have one of the lowest miles per operator compared to other counties around. So essentially our roads get done a lot faster than other counties, which is a good thing, but also a bad thing that when you get a heavy snow and it takes longer and the public think it should be done, you should be done in 4 hours. Well, you get a 6-inch heavy snow, that takes usually 8 to 10 hours to get off the road. So it's kind of a give or take of the snow really dictates what time and how long it takes.
I had a couple people mentioned last year, County Road 45. It seems like the east-west roads are getting done, and then 45 is maybe the last, for whatever reason, except till you get to number 9, then it's done all the way to Highway 2, but it's,
Yeah.
and then, of course, when I go to check, the roads are beautiful, just a couple hours later, so it's,
There's a lot to do with efficiency. We try to make it the most continuous route, so they're not having to back up, turn around. And so if that means, you're going east-west, turning around, going back, and then going up north, and, That's kind of how we try to lay out the routes to the most efficient.
That's what I kind of thought too.
Well, Mr. Chair, I will move to approve, and, you know, this is policy, so this can be updated at any time, so.
Yeah.
And I'll second, even after 31 years, it did need a little tweaking.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried.
Almost older than I am, I'll just say that. Almost. The last item I have is a agreement and then a resolution for MnDOT to use some county roads for a project they have planned next year. They're replacing the Hay Creek Bridge over on 71. I believe it's just south of the golf course out there. And they're planning on using our CSAH 4 and 40 to loop back around through Lake George and down. Which is, they have to use a comparable road route. It's not my favorite detour because it's 20+ miles, and I actually live just north of there, so I'm in trouble. But I did ask in there, when they first sent this, I asked if there was any plan for extra dust control and reimbursement for treatment on our, I believe it's our 83 or 89 that goes around Island Lake. I think that'll get hit pretty hard. And they stated not in this agreement per se, but then we can discuss as the project goes of either putting some dust control, or if we do extra blading or the contractor does extra blading. That we can talk
I
about.
was gonna say that road's gonna take a beating, because once people figure it out, hey, that's an alternate route, I
Yeah.
don't have to drive an extra 20
Right.
miles.
I
It's
mean,
gonna cost me
personally,
full load.
I plan on using it because it's an extra 40 minutes for me to get to the office versus going around. So,
Well, there's a few other ways too that I know, but
yeah.
Did I miss in here, did they have a completion date?
I believe it was the middle to end of August, I believe, is when I was reading through.
And so how long will the road be a detour?
I think that's about a month and a half is
you
their
mean
plan.
October. It is August now.
No, next year though,
Oh,
for the
next
Hay
year.
Creek.
Oh,
Yep,
okay, all right.
yep, next year. So short in terms of MnDOT, I guess.
Right, well.
I'll move to approve, and just a side note, we're not voting on this at all, but they're also then gonna, for ATV,
Yep.
Corey already knows about this, and that's much needed too, so that'll be a good tie into this project.
So you need a motion?
I made a motion.
Yep,
I'm just
motion.
waiting for a
We just
second.
need a second.
I'll second.
All right. Motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried.
All right, and then just quick updates, 7 and 40, they're actually paving today and yesterday, they're putting the final lift on today. Planning to be open before Labor Day. They need signs and striping after it gets paved. It's beautiful, I was out there yesterday, it looks really great, I'm impressed.
Is it gonna be at all open before the holiday weekend? that
Yes,
the
yep, it
people
will
wanted
be
to-
open before the holiday
Okay.
weekend, yep. I just don't have a concrete date yet, we have to wait so long after it gets paved to get it striped, and so there's a little delay there, but
Okay.
I do want the signs up for sure before we open it, so
Okay.
we're waiting on that.
Can you send me those drone videos you said you
Yeah.
had of that?
Yeah, it's
I'd like to see that.
It's a really cool project. I'm very impressed with Bladen's work on it. 13, they're starting paving tomorrow. That should also be wrapped up by Labor Day, the paving on that road, so another very large project. The bridge, they're pouring the deck tomorrow, or excuse me, on Thursday, and then all the after work, that should be finished by the end of September on 45.
Are we doing the construction inspection on that, or is it?
The bridge?
Yeah, or is it a consultant? Yeah,
Yep,
the bridge.
The bridge, we're
Yes.
doing it, yep.
Okay,
Tom
right.
Johnson's up there right now.
Okay.
CSAH 1, they're still working on the underground. They're on schedule, so mid-October was the completion date on that. They're replacing, the city has old lead-lined or lead pipes that they got a grant for to replace, so they're doing a lot of that for the residents. And then 4 and 40, planning on starting that after Labor Day. We have the pre-construction meeting this Friday for it, so still busy, but getting closer. And that's all.
All right, does anyone else have any questions or comments for Andrea? Okay,
All right, thank
well,
you.
thank you.
Mr. Chair, we skipped over the consent agenda.
No, we didn't.
Didn't we?
I made a motion to approve.
Did we?
Yep.
I'm sorry.
And you didn't hear it? No. Yeah, I moved, do you remember, Dave or
I
Ted,
think it
which
was-
one?
I think David seconded.
You think it was Ted? Okay.
I thought it was David.
Sorry, Ted.
Okay, right. Corey?
Good morning.
Morning.
A few things on the agenda today from our office. First is a easement request from Nathan and Aaron Frederick. They're requesting a 33-foot easement across tax forfeited land on an existing trail, mostly in Emma Township, but partly in Arago too. Like I said, it's an existing trail. It's about 1.8 miles to their property, and with 33 feet, it comes out to about 7.3 acres. And we charge $1,500 an acre for an easement, so it comes out to $10,949.77. The reason they want this easement is they're planning on selling it, and it won't sell without that easement, that legal access. And
Are
with
there
the-
any structures at their location?
No.
It's just property.
Yeah, just property. Eventually, they could build a structure if they'd like, and it, of course, would increase tax value or whatever, that sort of thing too.
So are they proposing starting at
They're,
Horizon and going all the way up Churchill, improving Churchill, and then improving where the trail turns and goes toward their property?
Yep, so they're starting, Horizon's a township road, and that Churchill is a county forest road
Yep.
trail. So they're starting at that Churchill trail, going up 1.8 miles, yep, and it curves into their property.
Okay, so they're improving part
yeah.
of Churchill.
Well, the Churchill doesn't need any improvements.
All right,
That's-
that was my question.
Yeah, but that
Are they
trail.
touching Churchill, or are they just doing the
Yeah.
easement they're asking for from Churchill to their property?
Yeah, from Churchill to their property. Churchill's maintained already. It's a nice road, but just there's a little loop that goes through tax forfeited land that's not maintained by us. It's just a trail.
Yep.
So they probably will maintain that 33-foot easement there. But the thing with these easements, they're always open to public use still.
Yep.
It's just a way people can either sell their property or build on it with.
So if they're using that existing forest trail, does that existing forest trail also access other properties? County properties?
It does, it goes through, but the trail ends at their property.
Okay, all
And to
right.
get to their property, it's just a trail.
Yeah, yep, it's just a small little ATV trail.
Well, I was just wondering, is there gonna be a conflict when some public goes down the road, that trail, and they
No,
come to their gate, you know?
no, it's not gonna cause an issue. It's
Okay,
it's
alright.
pretty much just been used by them the whole time, and
Okay,
in this easement, it states that it cannot be barricaded or obstructed at any
are they
time, so.
gonna clean up after they make their trail improvements?
Yeah,
Remove all
so
the
they
debris?
legally only have 33 feet to,
Cause I've seen some that look like a bomb went off after they
sure, yeah.
improved their trail.
Yeah.
And we granted them an easement, and it
Sure.
looks horrible when you go in there.
I don't think there's too many trees they're gonna
No.
have to cut or anything like
Okay.
that. It's
No,
just,
I haven't been down there,
Oh,
so
I've
I
been
don't,
down the trail.
I don't know.
So they've been using this, I believe his dad bought it back in the 50s or something, and
Right.
it's
out
pretty,
in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
yep, and they,
I know the area, I just don't know
Sure.
the trail, that I haven't
Yeah.
been on it, so.
it won't
Okay.
impact us
Alright.
at all, so, yeah, we're just looking for approval of that.
I'll move to approve.
Shar moves, is there a second?
This is Ted, I'll second.
Ted seconds. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Right, motion carried.
Thank you. And I'll let them know, and they'll have it recorded at the recorder's office. Let's see. All right, there, as I told you the last board meeting, I'd bring you the some of the notes from the salvage auction. 20 out of 25 tracks sold for about $400,000. Exact is $399,130.75. A total of 25,740 cords were offered and 23,340 cords sold. The unsold tracks are available to purchase over the counter, and many of these sites will be planted red pine or other types of pine within the next 2 or 3 years. One of the unsold ones just sold over the counter, so now we have 4 that we have to try to get rid of.
Those
Try to
4
sell.
that are still, do they have a lot of, is it large areas or are these?
No, they're smaller sales. Our larger sales all sold, which is good, but these are smaller ones. Kind of, a couple of them are over by potlatch that, yeah, have minimal cords and small white spruce. So it's not a,
Desirable.
yeah, not exactly desirable for a logger right now. So
Kind of sad reading through all those, up in my neck of the woods
Oh.
and all the stuff that's down, it's crazy.
yeah, it's a different look, that's for sure.
So if these don't sell, will you guys go in and clean them up?
No,
They just be left to,
we'll probably offer them at the January auction and for a reduced price even, so, see if we can sell them there, and then if they don't sell there, we can, if it's pine, we can windrow and replant that way. So, yeah, technically we would hire to do it. But if it's aspen, we'll just let the aspen come back. It'll grow back on its own.
Okay.
Yep. But yeah, I did miss who purchased the sale, but I can send that out to you guys. Many of them are Rock logging out of Bagley, so they move quick, move 15 to 20 truckloads out a day, so they can move wood pretty quick. On to the next one. The next item is, I'm starting to get the initial steps ready for the fall auction. And prior to 2016 forfeitures, we need to get a non-conservation status on them before we can send them on to the DNR and other township entities and city folks. We need to get these approved as non-conservation lands.
Corey, I was just curious when I went through the parcels,
Yep.
how come, the ones that are on lake frontage, why were they held back through the years? Do you
I don't know if they were forgotten about, but I did a query of all the county lands, and I was looking at parcels that were in the best interest to the public to turn back to private land. And these smaller chunks on the lakes, we don't really have any management use for, and they're not lake accesses. Many of them are adjacent to other homes that makes sense for the other homes to buy them. Yeah, so I don't know if they were forgotten about, but they're not in our timber inventory. I believe some were non-buildable, so maybe that's why the people back in the 40s turned them back to the 40s or 50s, turned them back to the state of Minnesota.
Okay.
But looking through it, there's about 6 of these 11 that are buildable lots. Some of them, it's strange why we held on to them for 50 years, but
Have any of these been looked at as far as encroachments by adjacent property owners?
yeah, I've looked at all these, and there's one on Pickerel that, I guess it does have docks on it.
Okay.
But the only access is through from the lake, otherwise going through their private property.
Okay.
We are finding more and more, even larger pieces of property that we're seeing people extend their fields on, or partly building their garages on. So, trying to fix some of those things.
How would you, if you can only get on via the dock, so they have a cartway through there?
They would own the property adjacent to it, and they're just using the
Okay.
county land
Okay.
as lake access. It's it's not ideal in my mindset anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd like to offer these in the fall with the 2025 forfeitures that we should be getting in October, I believe. And those are different way of classification. We don't need to come to the county board to do classification for those. But I'll still come with the list and the terms of sale. But these take about 3 months to get DNR approval and others approvals.
I'll move to approve.
Okay, Dave moves. Is there a second?
This Ted, I'll second.
Ted seconds. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried.
All right, thank you. And I have about 30 parcels.
Need to go.
What's that? Oh, I have about 30 parcels on a list that I know we've discussed with acquiring the potlatch lands. We should work on trying to liquidate some of the ones we do have that would be better off in private ownership. So
Okay,
it'll probably be staggered out the next 2 or 3 auctions.
all right.
Yep. I guess
I
that's.
believe that's all on your
That
list.
is, oh yeah, then one other thing, we're working on a variance for Deep Lake Park for the roadway and for the maintenance shed that we need to have turned in by the middle of next week. I had a sewer company out there yesterday, which they installed it back in the 80s.
Okay.
We need about 7 tanks abandoned by next week.
Oh, wow.
So the sewer company, Gertz Excavating, came out, which they installed it back in the 80s. They came out yesterday and gave us a quote of it'd be between 5,000 and 7,500. And the reason why I chose them is because they still know where everything's at. So I don't have it on my agenda. It was this morning he called me and gave me a quote. So I would just need approval to.
So are they just gonna abandon, fill it, or do they have to go in and actually dig them out?
So with these ones, they have to pump them and then they can fill them with
Yep.
gravel.
Okay,
So it won't be too big of a process, but there's 7 or 8 big tanks. So I thought
we're
5,
gonna do all the tanks for under
Yep.
7,500?
before you get a variance, you need to fill all the tanks in.
Right, but it would be spending up to 7,500?
Yeah, yep, he said it'd be cost between 5,000 and 7,500, depending on the time he takes to fill them.
Is someone gonna be monitoring?
Yeah, I'll be out there, yep, he said he'd start Monday morning.
Okay, and I'm sure it'll be done to
And-
the spec. It has to have.
Yeah,
I do believe the bottom has to be at least penetrated so that.
sure, and he has all the forms, he does this stuff,
Right.
and then I have Eric informed, Eric was out there with us yesterday too, so.
Good.
Yeah,
Okay,
and then RFPs are sent out to the different businesses, and that's in the paper and on the website for demolition. I've got quite a few calls, so
okay,
looking forward to getting bids back.
right. So he's looking for a motion.
Yeah,
correct?
oh, sorry, yeah,
Right.
yep, getting ahead of myself.
So is there a motion to spend up to $7,500 for the destruction of the
Filling of the septic
filling
tanks?
of the septic tanks?
I'll
Yeah.
make that motion.
Right, Ted moves. Is there a second?
I'll second with just a notation. It'd be really nice, even if it's last minute, to get some sort of wording to Jeff and Denise.
Sure, yep,
Yeah.
and sorry, he gave me a call this morning and, right before I got here, so.
Okay, all right. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried.
All right, thank you, and I'll get that quote to Denise and, all right. Thank you, have a good day.
All right. So if we are going to move on to administrator, we're gonna have a closed session, so we will have to have a motion to close the open session and open the closed session.
I'll make a motion to close the open session and to go into closed session.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor? be reopening. Okay, we are currently in our open session of our county board meeting. I guess I'm not.
Need a motion to reopen?
We did that.
We did that already.
We did that.
Yep. Yep. So,
So what we're asking for is a motion to approve the settlement agreement reached during mediation in the matter involving K. Rave, and to authorize the chair to sign the settlement agreement? Sign the settlement and release forms associated with that.
okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll
Ted-
move.
Ted moves.
I'll move.
Tom seconds.
Yep, I'll second.
Okay. We will do a roll call vote. Ted, how do you vote?
Yes.
Shar, how do you vote?
Yes.
David, how do you vote?
Yes.
Tom, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion carried. All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
now that this is done, I'm gonna be, leaving the meeting. And so, yeah, we're gonna take off to the Grand Tetons here, so we're gonna get going. And I'm gonna also miss that, EDA meeting too.
okay.
So.
Thank you for that
all right,
information.
Take care, everybody. Okay, bye.
Okay. So we will move on in our agenda, and we will move to Heartland Lakes Development Commission Strategic Implementation Plan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I wanted to catch you all up on the work that our organization has been doing for some strategic planning of late, and just give a little bit of background about how that plays into the broader discussions that are going on in the community lately. So our board did a strategic plan session in about 2020, and that created a new mission, vision, and name. We rebranded and did a few things, and thought that we're 5 years in now, so we should step back and take a look at how we're doing, and if there's anything that we should change or highlight. And we had this event over one very long session, and then 3 or 4 board meeting agendas focused on that. A couple things that came out is that our mission and vision really are in line with who we are as an organization, and what our benefits are. But we did talk a little bit more about what we call a hedgehog, and that is taken from a book called Good to Great by Jim Collins. And it talks about a hedgehog is an animal that does one thing really well. And it understands very keenly what that thing is that it does. And some other animals in the wild kingdom know a few things. He brings up a fox and says that they can do a lot of things, but not necessarily everything really well. And so his recommendation is that you create a statement that really focuses in 3 areas, and that's what can you be the best at the world at? What are you passionate about, and what drives your economic engine? And if you focused your energies on the intersection of those 3 circles, that's your thing that you can be the very best in the world at, and, crystal focus. So as a result of that, we did create a new hedgehog statement to add to our mission, vision, and values, and that's on the page 2 of the implementation plan, where we're deeply passionate about long-term success of the community by being the best in the world at connecting ideas, partners, and resources to get real things done, using creativity, results, and relationships to drive our economic engine. So it's really about recognizing the fact that as a nonprofit entity that works with the city, the county, all of the cities in the community and the business community, that we can help to connect dots, ideas and partners, and hopefully find resources that really gets real things done. Because it's really about getting real things done. So that's what we used as our basis, and then really spent some time thinking about what our really big goals should be over the next 5 to 10 years. What are those things that are really going to drive that economic prosperity and growth? And so we came up with 2 that I think really talk about our community and what are the things that can really help to drive us forward. The first one is an external goal, and it is to grow the population in Park Rapids to 5,000 and in Hubbard County to 25,000, and increase tax capacity in Hubbard County by 40% by 2035. Couple of reasons for that. First of all, Park Rapids being the largest community in Hubbard County, once it hits that $5,000 mark, it becomes a different tier of city, and therefore has the ability to access direct resources through the state of Minnesota, and will then be able to create an additional resource stream for doing some of their work and not need to rely on going through the county or taxpayers on some of that. So it does provide a significant benefit for them to get to that population size. Hubbard County, the same thing, is that we really want to increase that population and additionally tax capacity, because we all know that the more tax capacity, the less each individual taxpayer has to share the burden of property tax. The second goal is internal, and that is about creating a stable and consistent funding stream to support our annual operating budget of $500,000 by 2030. So that's looking at finding stable and consistent funding and also increasing our budget size. The reason for that is every minute that we spend trying to find the resources to fund the work we do, it's a minute that we're not actually doing our work. So it's important to find resources that really stabilize the way that we operate so that we can continue to pick away at the things that we really need to do. A couple things that are related to the goals, and I want to touch on these before I talk a little bit more about the implementation strategy. There's a Dr. Stephen Deller that has done a lot of research and work around what they're calling the fourth wave. And it's an inflection point in community economic development. And it's looking at what is changing in community economic development. And what they're finding, and I'm sure this comes as no surprise to you, is that it's not focused solely on jobs and businesses anymore. It's about what makes this a great place to live and why would people want to live here as being the number one thing. He also goes on to say that he's looking at 50 years worth of national data and finding that the evidence shows that jobs increasingly follow people. So if you bring people to a place, the jobs will come. And so it really is something to look at when we're thinking about economic development and bringing people in to fund or do the things that we need to do. There's also a tool that's provided by the Corporation on Rural Innovation. It's called CORI, and they have an economic development tool. And you can print information or go in there and access information about any county in the United States. And then you can pick comparison counties, and you can look at rural versus urban and all kinds of things. And it looks at about 20 different data points that tend to be drivers of the impact of economics in the community. Couple things that I wanted to highlight is that the share of our employment by sector in Hubbard County are looked at local services, which are focused on meeting local demand. So those are things like healthcare, education, retail, and those are the things that are essential for the quality of life. There are tradable goods, which are global competition, or manufacturing, mining, and agriculture. And then tradable services are really knowledge-driven kinds of things. And for Hubbard County, not surprisingly, 48% of our employment sector is from that tradable goods, which includes agriculture. So again, not surprising that we would be there. 35% is in that local services, which is the retail, education, healthcare. Again, not necessarily surprising, especially when we look at the community hub here. And then only 16% of our employment by sector is in tradable goods. So we have a low knowledge base employment, which provides us with an opportunity for an area for growth, I think ideally. The other statistic that I wanted to talk about is employment by industry, and it looks at where our share of businesses and industry come in. Retail trade is at the very top of the list at 13.8%. And it was 2 years, 2017 and 2022. In 17, it was 13.7. In 22, it's 13.8. So our retail component of our industry has really not changed over that period of time. Public administration is number 2. That has actually declined over that period of time. And then ag and forest industry is only at 4%. So really, again, very highly retail driven, just based on our tourism economy. That's not entirely surprising. The 2 other components that I wanted to bring up is, one is a quality of life indicator, and that plays the critical role in shaping where people choose to live, work, and invest. The metrics looks at rent burden, housing supply, the price premium that residents are willing to pay here. So because it is such a great place to live, will they pay more than other areas? For Hubbard County, ours is at 53%, which is like right in the middle, so it's not incredibly high, it's not incredibly low, but it is much lower than Minnesota as a whole. And then from the comparison counties that I looked at, which were interestingly most of the ones that you looked at for comparison last week when Derek was here with the chamber, and we're pretty much right in the same spot as them. So the indicators show that our quality of life is relatively the same, although those comparison counties you probably know about better just because you hear about them more. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk about is the housing starts, because we all know that you can't really attract people if you don't have a place for them to live. And the change in housing supply for Hubbard County has been dramatic over the last few years. So the housing starts per housing unit building permit applications per 1,000 people has escalated from 21 to 22, so that we are actually nearly the same as the United States or Minnesota. So our housing starts by person, or by 1,000 people, has escalated dramatically because of the work that we all have been doing to really acknowledge that that is an area that we have to focus on in order to bring people to the community. So as we sort of think about that and go back to some of the strategies that we have been looking at for implementing the goals that we have in place for the external goal of growing our population, the strategies that we've talked about are housing, clearly. We were developed the Pinecrest apartment building through a partnership, which was, again, part of our mission to work with partners. That property is full and is operating quite nicely. Heartland Heights, which is the subdivision project that we're working on, the plat was submitted to the city yesterday. So the final plat, or the preliminary plat, shows 76 new housing lots and a park. So that provides us an opportunity to bring several more households into the community that will really have an impact. The third one is County Line Estates, which is the one that the Hubbard County HRA EDA is working on. That final plat is going to be submitted by the deadline on the 22nd, and the public hearing for the sale of those will occur at their September meeting. So that, again, will provide an additional 7 lots that are more affordable to attract people to the community. Our second strategy is childcare. We have been working on creating 2 new childcare units within that Pinecrest facility. One is full, and we are working on getting that second one occupied. And then the other thing that we did is called the Rural Child Care Innovation Program. That's a 2-year process that we have been working with task force members to identify barriers that are either making existing childcare providers struggle or preventing new ones from entering the market. And so there's 5 goals that that group has come up with, and we're diligently working on finding solutions to each of those 5 goals. Quality of place is also big on the need for strategies in looking at that population growth. And a couple of the things that we are working on is implementing a community visioning process. The Chamber and HLDC have partnered to create a process where the community can weigh in on what are the key indicators or things that we really need to incorporate to impact our quality of place, and how can we then work together to arrive at some of those goals that are identified. The second thing that we have the opportunity to undertake is revitalization activities, which is if there's an identified area that may be need of revitalization or redevelopment in some way, then we can actively pursue those, again, with the expectation that we're increasing the potential for quality of place. The final thing is a strategy is destination marketing, and I believe you talked about that some last week and how it relates to tourism and our decline in tourism. It is interesting how closely aligned the destination marketing for a tourist is to that for a workforce. In economic development, tourism is the front door, and as I talk to a lot of the residents and business owners, well, I have a cabin here, and so now I want to live here, or I came to vacation here, and so then I bought a cabin. I want to do business here because I now have a cabin here. That is a very common way of getting people to understand all of the amenities that you have to offer, and we do not do a very good job of letting everybody else know what ideal place this is to live. Sometimes you'll get some pushback from the local residents that say, we don't want any more people, we're fine the way we are. But growth is stagnant, and once you stagnate, you're going to end up dying. So we always have to be thinking about growth in some way and improvement in some way. As far as the tax capacity, some of the things that we're looking at for strategies include ramping up a business retention and expansion and attraction process. So we do not want to forsake our businesses that are already here. So we want to do a much better job of making sure that we provide services to them so that they are interested in staying here, or when the need arises that they can expand. And then we can also look at attraction. We're working on developing some shovel-ready property in northern Hubbard County in Fardin Township. We're working on an industrial park. The city of Park Rapids actually has some industrial land that we can work on and create some additional opportunities here. And then two of the other things that we can do is look at the creation of appropriate business incentives, ones that provide an incentive for a business to locate but doesn't sell the farm. We want to use our incentives appropriately and smartly. And then the other thing is that there is some potential need for a revolving loan fund that covers the entire county. Right now, the only access to revolving loan funds from a gap perspective are either regional organizations such as HRDC or the Northwest Minnesota Foundation, and then the city of Park Rapids has a revolving loan fund. But no other access is there from a local base for outside of the Park Rapids city area. Targeting high tech is also a talent attraction that we should be cognizant of. The high tech positions tend to provide better wages. They are less place dependent and provide a lot of upward mobility and opportunity. We are blessed with very good internet throughout most of the county. There are some pockets where the broadband doesn't cover, but because of that, we have the potential to really attract or target high-tech industry. So I think that we need to be actively attracting both the industry and then the talent here. And then from a tourism perspective, I think that one of the things that we can do is help to potentially expand the season so that as you looked at some of those charts and where the peaks and valleys are, you notice that during the week there's a lot of dipping. Some of the things that we might be able to do is help to level out that weekend up and down, and then make those peaks a little longer out into the shoulder seasons. So those are some of the things that we can do, again, with the expectation that if we expand our tourism economy, we're bringing in more people who could potentially call this place home. Just a couple on the internal strategies that we were looking at. So we're doing some organizational marketing. We're going to upgrade our current website and then make a concerted effort to improve our social media interactions and create a newsletter. It's surprising how many times I still find out or hear that people had no idea that we operate the hangar. That cooperative working space actually has been a significant economic driver. People are now able to come here on vacation and still work. And so instead of making the choice about whether or not to come, it's, yes, I can come because I can go and work somewhere for a couple hours or whatever it is and access those services that are there. We need to continue to maximize our funding from all different sectors, looking at fundraising events and explore transfer of wealth opportunities. As a nonprofit, we do have some stable funding, but we also do need to try and find businesses and organizations that support our work. So we're looking at expanding those opportunities. And then we have to do a better job of trying to capture any of the administrative funding that goes along with grants that we're able to capture for the organizations within the county. To the extent that we can do that administrative work and make sure that the grants that we secure are well administered, then it sets people up for additional funding in years in the future. And capturing some of that administrative will help us sort of move on from there. That was a really sort of quick overview, but I would love to entertain any questions or comments that anyone has.
Just one comment. You had referred to a lot of paperwork you have with graphs and charts and so forth, and we don't have that. So if you could share that with us in the future, that would be great.
Absolutely.
Be something to sit down and look at, kind of analyze a little bit more.
Yes, I will absolutely do that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
No, I appreciate your presentation here today, Mary. And I've always said that I want to promote Hubbard County, and it's like you've just talked there, the quality of living here. I wrote down some stuff. We've got hundreds of miles of ATV and snowmobile trails. What was it, 140-some thousand acres of county tax forfeited land, which is public land, and there's also state lands. We got, was it hundreds of lakes, 400 lakes or something like that, you know? We got the county parks. We got Lake LaSalle up there in the north end of the county. We got the North Country hiking trail. So there's a boatload of stuff for people that want to recreate, want to do the outdoors right here in Hubbard County. And I'm glad that you talked about like the industrial park up on the north end of the county and the housing stuff that we're doing up there. That's always been my big thing, is I want to promote businesses. It's kind of like the chicken or the egg thing, where we talk about more people, then we'll have more business, you know, to work in businesses. But I kind of look at it the other way, thinking if we had better paying jobs, we would have more people wanting to come here too. And what do those better paying jobs look like? I'm glad that you touched on technology, because I think that's the big thing. If I could go back to the high school days, I would probably be one of those nerds that was doing the computer stuff back then, because the cool people didn't do that. It was just, you know, the smart people did. And so yes, I appreciate, like I say, I want to do whatever I can to promote Hubbard County, and because I think we're a wonderful place. 7 different school districts. Like I say, all the activities, good roads. Like I say, I can go on and on. And so I appreciate your efforts.
Thank you. Interestingly, the demographics are showing that there just isn't as many people with the baby boomers retiring, and people just aren't having as many children. The demographics are showing that we're going to have to do a lot more with less. And that means that we're going to have to implement a lot more technology to take the place of the people that aren't going to be available, which means that high tech is going to be the future. And so if we don't find ways to expand the knowledge of our current workforce and then have tools in place to bring other highly talented individuals that are in that knowledge economy, that's going to be our downfall, or one of our downfalls. And so we really need to be thinking about what kinds of things can we do to train up our existing workforce so that they can reposition in some of these tech companies. We need to attract those companies, and part of that is making sure that we have in place the workers that can take those jobs when they come. And so part of that retention and attraction of businesses is really about workforce development and helping our workforce train up to new positions that we could potentially attract.
So, you know, speaking of what Ted says, you know, you talk about all the amenities and quality of place we have here. And I remember, you know, for those of us who graduated from around here, most of our friends left because they had to go get jobs. And, you know, the jobs were in the larger metropolitan areas, the higher paying jobs. But virtually all my friends that left really wish they could have stayed. And if they didn't stay, when they retire, they're coming back. Or if they can figure out a way to come back and make a living here, they do that. So what's interesting was how this all ties in with what Derek presented yesterday in that core 35 to 50-year-old group, and what they want out of life now is a lot different than when we were in that age group. They want the quality of place. They're not worried so much about the high-paying job. They want to live in a particular area that has what the lifestyle they want, and then they just make it work, which is what I did my whole life. I always wanted to live here, so I stayed here, and I made it work. Because that's interesting, because when we went through this strategic planning thing, one of the things that HLDC found at the beginning is that destination marketing was not real high on the priority list at the beginning of this whole process. But every time we went through all these different categories and these goals that we're trying to accomplish, it always came full circle back to, well, we can't get there if we don't tell people about the quality of place we have. They don't know about it. You know, they don't know about those things that Ted was just pointing out, a handful of the many boatloads of things we have to do around here. I always use when I go snowmobiling somewhere else, because we don't have snow around here, I always ask people, well, have you ever snowmobiled around Hubbard County? And they go, where's that? And then when I start to describe it, it's one of the better places to go, period, in the whole state. We need to do a better job if we want to reach the goals we've spelled out here. We need to do a better job at telling people what a quality of place we have here. And then coupled with the other things we're doing with the industrial park, hopefully, A, they can find a job here and find housing here and childcare here. Then it all works. But you miss some of those pieces, and then it doesn't work. So it just kept coming full circle back to, okay, we're doing these other things, but we're missing this big piece of we're keeping it a secret, what we're doing. Nobody knows. And if we want to do better than other communities, or we want to get our share of residents, and we want to increase our tax capacity, we have to tell our story.
Okay, any other comments or questions? All right, thank you, Mary. All right, we have one more item to act on. It was the item 7C.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We've been working on this for a while to try to find a new payment system that will replace the one we currently have, that has the ability to interface with our tax payment software. And this payment by Tyler Technologies integrates directly with the Tyler Tax. What that means is that taxpayers will have the ability to look up their taxes and pay them online, and they'll have real-time data, right? So they'll be able to look at first half, second half, full year. Whenever they look it up, it'll be correct. If somebody makes a payment and they look the next day, it'll reflect that payment. The amount of 3703 is the dollar amount to purchase new transaction terminals. And so the only ongoing cost is the $1,260 a year in licensing. So it's very, very modest. The transaction fees are similar to what we would have wherever we have them. That's the service fees for accepting the credit cards. If somebody wants to pay their taxes using an EFT or an e-check, there's just a flat fee of $1.95. So if people want to make their make their tax payments and have it, you do it electronically, but you do it through a checking account, it's very modest fee to do that. We had been doing this for people. We'd been maintaining their bank account information and processing their payments, and we can't be responsible for having all that bank information. So we have discontinued that a couple of years ago, and people are asking for a way to make their payments online that's more interactive than the one we currently have. So this will be used, I believe, pretty much across the county. The only place it might not be is at solid waste, because their scale system also has a payment processing that would integrate with that. In my mind, I can think that's the only exception. Otherwise, we would end our contract with Forte, who is currently our processor, and move everything over to Tyler.
That's what I was just gonna ask, is it gonna save us anything in that end of it without with having one provider instead of ending up with several.
You typically don't pay for this because they just charge, they take their money on the fees that they charge. So I don't know that there's gonna be a savings, but there is gonna be a significant improvement to,
Service, basically.
for service, for public use and public access. Everything will be accessed either from the county website, or I believe there'll be a link when you go to GIS and look up your tax information. I think there's gonna be a button to pay right from there, or you can go into the search tool. You should be able to access the information both ways.
Actually, the staff has been working on this for years.
I've been working on it for 2.
Yeah, trying to find, I mean, it's been years.
I remember back when Ginger was there.
Yeah.
All right, so we have the proposal before us. Is there a motion?
I'll move to
Char
approve.
moves. Is there a second?
This Ted, I'll second.
Ted seconds. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried. We will take care of our committee reports, if we can keep them brief, so we can kind of get back on schedule a little bit. Ted, would you like
Yeah,
to start?
sure, I'll start. I'm gonna go back to last month. Had one at the Northwestern Minnesota Juvenile Center. I don't know if any of you know, and I hope I'm correctly pronouncing his name, Jerry Kurth. He's from Park Rapids. He works up there at the Juvenile Center. After the storm hit, there was no access to the Juvenile Center. Employees that were working there were trapped there. Other employees, without even being asked to come in, came in and started clearing the road and stuff. Jerry came there with his skid loader, a piece of equipment that was priceless at the time, and he didn't want any reimbursement for his time and stuff. So I wanted to just call him out and say thank you. You know, it's people like that work at these places. Takes a special kind of person, and I just wanted to thank him. Let's see, had a HRDC meeting. That was our annual meeting. Kind of went over the year's activities. We did update the bylaws, and I was kind of happy about that in the sense that I didn't know what kind of, I was one of the people that was kind of pushing it. 15-3 was the vote, so I felt really good that other people saw what I saw and corrected everything that I guess needed to be corrected. And a lot of it was just grammar type things. Craig Gosvick from Beltrami County, he's the chairman and I'm the vice chair. As like he put it, we are doing things one way, but the bylaws kind of say it another way, so we basically changed the bylaws to mirror what we were actually doing business-wise and stuff like that. And like I say, it was well attended, so I'll cut short that one there because there's not a whole lot more. It was the annual meeting, kind of patting ourselves on the back type of thing for what we do. And it seems like I had one more. Oh, the North Country Community Health Board. There again, we actually met at the HRDC offices, went through the budget, okayed the contract with Dr. Corser to be represented there on the board. We went over the family home visiting numbers. Let's see. We still don't know, but they're talking about dealing with the cuts at the federal level and possible cuts at the state level. And I guess that really hits the high spots there. Thank you.
Okay. Well, beyond Northwest Juvenile, I really didn't have anything that had any significance of note for passing along information, so go ahead, Char.
Okay, for Prime West, I'm gonna keep it really brief. Just to note that healthcare expenses are 95.6% of revenue there, and healthcare expenses currently are 3 times the inflation rate across the nation. And we are going to be interviewing for a new executive director at the end of the month, which I'm part of the executive committee. I'll be on that. Action Park Rapids, some highlights. The Park Rapids Enterprise has a new person working there, Alex, and she shared that the subscription rate in this area is the highest out of all the newspapers that they own, so she thanked the area for that. League of Women Voters have 600 new members in the state of Minnesota, and they're doing a national membership drive. The library had 17 activities and 1,400 people attending so far this year, and they had interaction with 500 people at the fair. Second Street stage, a survey was taken on July 3rd, excuse me. People came from 27 different states, 3 countries, and 30 counties. And then just a reminder that the Living at Home open house is this Friday from 11 to 2. There's a blood screening for $35 at Sanford on September 10th. And on Monday, September 29th, the Historical Society is having Fishing Tales by Jason Durham. And then for HIP, we are sponsoring 2 community panels. The first one will be on Wednesday, September 24th from 6 to 7:30. Ellie Anderson will be speaking along with a panel. The focus will be screen time's effect on youth brain development, addressing anxiety and addiction issues caused from interaction with technology, proactive strategies for parents and the community. And then on October 29th, which is another Wednesday, the speaker will be Hubbard County Sergeant Tony Petrie, and he's going to be covering the legal implications and monitoring of screens. And they're going to be looking at legal risk and victimization of sexting and cyberbullying, safeguarding youth online, and then the phone monitors, which parents think work really well, but their kids, all the kids can get around them. Interestingly enough, at this planning session, I asked Tony what age he thought kids should have cell phones, and he was dead serious. He said age 25. And people from the Park Rapids School talked about getting this message into early childhood development, because they are finding kids coming into preschool and kindergarten do not have the capability of holding a pencil or knowing how to run a scissor. So that's what I have.
Kind of a quiet month for me. You heard HLDC, so I don't need to do that. And mediation was the other big one. And just a reminder, I'll be gone now Friday through Wednesday, so I won't be available. Char's got the 2 meetings next week got covered. So.
Do you want me also to take you're down for department head?
Or what? Yeah.
Department head. Do you want me to do that one too?
Yeah.
Okay.
So 3. I guess that's 3 meetings.
Yep.
That I had.
Okay.
Okay. Well, if there's nothing else to contribute, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Ted makes the motion, David seconds. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Right, motion carried. We are hereby adjourned. We're gonna take a 5-minute break.
Yes, okay.